synchronicity, serendipity. We're gonna talk about that a bit, and there's already a bit of synchronicity. I just met Renata today, who's volunteered to be a guinea pig. She didn't even know what she's volunteering to do, so that's pretty cool. So she's gonna get a complimentary reading. Don't worry, she'll be fine. But yeah, she just happened to be visiting, and you said you were studying something about
studying colonial model quadrants.
Amazing.
The card sort of jumped out when I walked in through the door.
Cool, and indeed, Jung coined the term synchronicity, which is quite an amazing idea. The idea that there's meaning, or we can read and try and understand things based on serendipity and synchronicity, and actually. One of the oldest oracle decks is the I Ching, also known as the Book of Changes. We publish the Uranus version, which is also affiliated with Carl Jung. So he was quite into this. Very very interesting stuff. And obviously, yes, he was a genius and an amazing guy. But yeah, so synchronicity. It's interesting. Obviously. Even if you didn't have coincidences, that would be a coincidence in of itself, right? Because things always happen. If they don't happen, that's already kind of strange. So it's inevitable that you will have synchronicities, but it's up to us to interpret them. Sometimes you could think that maybe it's the universe telling you something, or maybe it's just a chance for you to get in touch with your own self-awareness and try and understand what it's all about. And what I like about this deck, which I'll explain how it works, it's very easy to use, is anybody can basically do a reading within a few minutes, once you learn how it works. It's super easy to use. And I can't take credit for the mechanism. I was inspired by a children's game called Dobble. Anybody familiar with Dobble? Raise your hand.
Yay, Dobble!
Okay, not that many people, but it's a great children's game, and it uses a mechanism where basically any two cards will always have one and only one symbol matching. So I will give an example of how it works. And so here we go. So basically, usually with an oracle deck, you take one card. For example, in a tarot, and each card, you'd have some sort of layout. It might be the past, the future, some sort of combination of that sort, and you need to understand what that card means. Here, you need two cards in order to get a symbol, because what happens is a symbol comes out of the synchronicity of the two cards. So, for example, I'm just going to randomly take a card, and I think people might be a bit. I don't know if they're able to see because the symbols aren't that big, but here are two cards, and there are 8 symbols on each card, so there should be exactly one matching symbol between the two cards. Can anybody see what the matching symbol is in this case?
Pi.
Very good. Okay, cool. And good eyesight as well. So yes, pi, and that's what's cool about this mechanism. So any two cards will always have one symbol. And this process, kind of like this aha moment, the process of discovery, is also quite cool in terms of also interacting and really feeling the process. And I like that. I love it, and I love creating things. I love playing with symbols, and for me to try and take this mechanism and curate a group of symbols was really fun, because there's so many great symbols around us. Obviously, Jung was big on archetypes, and there's. The world is full of symbols. I mean, just beneath your feet right now, we've got Thoth, which symbolizes Watkins, who, of course, is in the deck. He had to be in there. And he is the Egyptian god of literature. By the way, silly, really bad word pun, bad joke. Does anybody know? If you know this, don't say the answer. If you haven't heard it before, what is Thoth's favorite food? No? Thothages. So, sorry. So I said it's bad. It is bad. It's a very bad joke. But yeah, Thoth is a very important symbol. So he's in there, and trying to choose, what symbols to put in there that was a real journey for me, and I really worked on that. Pi, an amazing symbol, because it also represents obviously the circumference of a circle, but it also represents an irrational number, because pi is a number that goes on forever, right? 3.1415926, and then keeps going, right? Actually, I interviewed someone a couple of years ago that memorized pi to 50,000 digits, believe it or not. So, but yes, so a very strange number. And actually, the the Greeks, when they found out about these strange numbers, they realized that, for example, the root of 2 was also an irrational number that can't be represented by one number divided by another. You had to basically have a sequence that goes on forever. They thought that was really weird, and they tried to keep it a secret. So that was very interesting. So pi is an amazing symbol. Obviously, the sun's very interesting. All these symbols you've got here. This is all just by coincidence. Some symbols that came out. You've got the dream catcher, which is obviously a very interesting symbol. The chakra lovers, I call them. We've got these conjugal lovers with the chakras. So every symbol that we threw in there was supposed to really give you something to interpret it, even though there's a guidebook that tells you kind of what each symbol means, and there are 57 symbols that come with 57 meditations and 57 reflections. What's cool is you don't necessarily have to use the guidebook. Anybody can interpret what it means to them. So when I'm going to do this with you, I'm going to ask you, no pressure, what the symbol means to you, and we'll do a reading. So that's what's cool. By the way, I don't want to just talk at you. I want this to be a bit more interactive. So we're going to do questions both twice. So at the end, but also really soon in a couple of seconds. So I'll let you guys ask me and interact. But yeah, symbols are really cool. So I shared about Thoth. Some other interesting symbols that we have in here, the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail, obviously a very important symbol. It symbolizes, well, on the one hand, it's like 0, right, like the number 0, but also it's a never-ending loop in the snake, right? It sheds its skin, it renews itself, so it's about renewal. Also, a very interesting symbol. So all these symbols have a lot of meaning, and for me, it was just really cool to try and really to find out, what are the cool symbols, and to combine the new and the old. So you've got ancient symbols, and you have these new symbols with this temporary tattoo, which are these jumping people with TVs on their head, which can be interpreted in many ways, perhaps as propaganda, fake news, tribalism, all these different things. So there's quite interesting combination of symbols. And meditations. So actually, let's jump in, Renat, in a sec. First, any questions about how this works from anyone?
Do you do a spread?
Yes, absolutely. I do, just like in tarot. Great question. And there are several spreads you can do. I'm going to teach you a spread that I came up with, which I think is fun and very easy to use, which I'll do in Renata, which is, I think, I call it kind of the classic spread. But you can even do what's cool, and this is something you can't do with a tarot or other oracles, is you can try and find the synchronicity between you and another person. And how do you do that? Each of you pulls one card, and you see what the match is. And that's not something you can do, obviously, with other oracle decks, because you always only get one symbol. So that's quite cool. So yes, there are many ways to use it, and I'm going to show you what's really cool about the classic spread. Great question. Any other?
You do 4 for the day?
You can, yes. I'm going to show you a spread that has 7 cards.
Okay.
Which that's my favorite. But you can also do whatever you want.
You pick 7 randomly and then you look at the connections, or?
Kind of. Well, I will show you.
Oh,
I'll show you in a
okay.
second. Yeah. But what's cool is also they're hexagonal, the cards, and hexagons are cool because they tessellate. You can kind of use them as wallpaper and create a little spread. So you can create a combination of any sort and then kind of flip it over and see what happens. So there's a lot of ways to build with it.
You shuffle them as you normally would with tarot cards?
Absolutely. Yeah. Although again, up to you how you want to use
How
it.
you
But
want to
yes.
use it,
But yeah, tarot. And obviously, by the way, tarot, that's a great question, very important oracle, very famous. And not surprisingly, I used also the tarot as one of the symbols. So we have, one of the symbols is the major arcana, which are with the world at the front. And yeah, tarot is great. Random trivia, tarot is almost the same. Obviously, the 22 cards in the major arcana, which some compare to the Hebrew alphabet, also 22 letters. Very interesting. But the minor arcana, which are very similar to a normal deck of cards. Do you know how many cards there are in the minor arcana?
56.
Sorry?
56.
That's right. And the difference between a regular plain card, a deck of plain cards versus 52 and 56, what's the difference then? What's the extra?
There's no knights in the playing cards.
Well, yes, or the page. The knight, the page, which is it? This is the knight. The page. The page, yes. Yes, 78 with the 22 and 56, yes. But exactly right. You have an extra similar, the page.
Yeah,
but otherwise they're very similar, and actually, when you use a deck of cards can be used as an oracle system as well. The Ace of Hearts is also in here. Hearts also going back, I think, to cups, because they mirror between tarot and the playing cards, representing love, eros, all that. But random trivia is kind of interesting. Do you know why, well, traditionally, actually, in the past, the royals used to dominate, and it's only recently that the ace became the most dominant cards in a deck of cards and also in tarot. Do you know when that happened and why? Why did the ace start to dominate? No? Okay, so...
Motorhead song.
Sorry?
Is it the Motorhead song?
What's
The
the-
Ace of Spades. No,
No, I don't
Slightly
know.
facetious. It's a
Okay.
great song though.
I'm going to have to listen to that later. Thanks. So actually it was the French Revolution. It was basically they wanted the peasant to be stronger than the royals. So it's since the French Revolution that the ace began to dominate. So that's just interesting trivia. But the point is, everything is linked somehow. And you know, we can look at synchronicities, we can look at associations, and symbols are all around us. It's really, you know, if you dig deeper, you can be more aware and understand the world in a much better way. So I think, yeah, it's just really cool to try and understand and play with symbols, basically. One more question before I do a reading? Anything? No, it's a lot of pressure. Okay.
Etan, how did you pick the symbols that you used? What was your inspiration?
Great question. Well, so there's 57 symbols here, 57 cards, and that's not that many. It sounds like a lot, but it isn't that many. I tried to combine kind of like, I thought of all the important archetypes, but also I tried to combine things that were personal to me that I thought would also be interesting to other people. It was a long process, and I put put symbols in that I later on took out and replaced, looked for new symbols like this, classic symbols. And I also really wanted to represent a diverse range of cultures and traditions. I think that was really important. I don't know if I did a decent enough job of that. I mean, that's an impossible task. But there are a lot of cultures here, from all over the world, and so certainly the attempt was there. And so we have taken a lot of different, and that to me, mirrors a lot what what the bookshop is about, right? Watkins has no particular agenda. It's about all spiritual paths, and I love that. So I think to some extent, maybe I hope I've tried to do that. Oh, sorry, yes.
Hierarchy of cards within playing cards. Did you have a favourite symbol or a most valuable symbol
great
that you included, or did the hierarchy not occur to you when you were putting it in?
That's a great
One maybe
question.
that has the most relevance to you.
Wow. It's a good question. Well, first of all, I don't have too many bad symbols in a sense, so it isn't a scary oracle deck. So in general, you've got the Hangman, obviously, in tarot, some that are not as good as others. There are some. I was encouraged to put in some scary ones. So we did get Pan. He's got horns, right? And combine put a few things. But in terms of really good ones, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess I like a lot of them. Otherwise, most of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. But the favorite, I'm not sure.
Because you mentioned pi, and I remember many years ago, we did a quiz, and one of the questions asked was, "Can you give me pi to 4 decimal places?" And your answer was to about 10. And it always stuck with me that question. But it was fantastic. Yeah, so it's amazing tonight's serendipity that the symbol that came up is pi on the card.
It's all about serendipity. Absolutely. And pi, an amazing number with a lot of meaning. Great movie, by the way, by Darren Aronofsky. If no one's ever seen Pi, I recommend that movie where he basically, it's guys trying to understand the world. He uses some sort of Kabbalistic system with a computer program that involves pi, and he tries to understand everything and predict the future. But yeah, pi is an amazing symbol. Also looks a little similar to the chet in Hebrew, which is quite cool. But yeah, I don't know. We've got infinity is in there, which I like the infinity symbol a lot. I don't know. I mean, so we made special biscuits for tonight's lunch. Everybody who buys a deck will get biscuits, and we had to choose. So maybe there is some sort of hierarchy because we had to choose what symbols to print on the biscuits, and so and obviously we could have chosen any card. In the end, I chose one particular card, and I swapped one symbol in for thought, because I thought I have to have thought in here. it tonight. So there is a little bit of artistic liberty. But I don't know, you've got here the bullseye hitting the target. You've got this cauldron, this alchemical cauldron, which is interesting. Thoth, of course, great symbol. The dream catcher I like a lot. There's two hands, it's kind of hard to see, but holding the cosmos, which is quite cool. Yeah, well, there's a few other symbols maybe that resonate a bit less, they're a bit more kind of blah, but in general, these are symbols that I like. So yeah, good question.
So some of the symbols will mean different things to different people. Don't they?
Totally, absolutely, and that's totally fine, and that's where I think the process has to be interactive
And intuitive.
and intuitive. Absolutely. Though obviously you can still use this, and and it will give you some cool info. Interesting trivia about Pan. I mentioned Pan earlier. So Pan is actually the reason that we've got the word panic from the god Pan. Does anybody know why? No, we know who Pan is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Pan apparently, like, there's some sort of mythology that he would fall asleep in the fields, and occasionally when he'd get startled, when he would wake up, he'd be kind of surprised, and then he would shout, and the sheep would start a stampede. And so the word panic comes from that, actually, from the notion of Pan basically waking up and creating a stampede, creating panic. So everything's connected. And yeah, words, etymology, it's all interconnected. Cool. Well, let's just go for it, Renata. You ready? You're panicking? There we go. No horns here. So it's cool. Okay. Well, we'll go for it. So hold on. Let's see. And this is the first time I'm doing this on one of these magnetic whiteboards. So what I'm going to do is this is the classic spread I'm going to teach you. It's quite a simple spread. Like a lot of other spreads, it's got a past, a present, and a future. And at the end, you're going to get an intuition symbol as well. You're going to get 3 symbols before you go to the intuition, for total. Cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of shuffle, and you will tell me when to stop. Right now, we're going to see where you're coming from in terms of the past, but it's like more the recent past, because if we were to do this a week from now, it could be different as well. I should say, similar to the I Ching, the Chinese, they believe that when you go into synchronicity and you go into randomness, they believe that sometimes using a random process can mirror kind of the outer world. It's this idea of as above, so below. So that's kind of the notion here. But it's up to you and how you interpret it. So anyway, here.
You're going to shuffle and I say
Here we go.
stop.
So I'm going to shuffle. You're going to say stop. That's right. And we're going to do that 7 times because you're going to get 7 cards. But we'll pause at different points and try and understand. Okay. So this is right now where you're kind of coming from recently. Yeah. Okay. Great. There's one symbol. Okay. So hold on. This is still the past because we need 2 cards for every symbol.
Okay.
That's what's interesting
Yeah,
about
matching.
this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one? Okay. Cool. I mean, you might feel that another card, the one below, might draw you, whatever. Go for it. Okay, cool. So the matching symbol, can you see it? Everybody see it?
Yes, the bicycle.
Very good, yeah. Okay.
Oh.
What does that symbolize to you?
Well, 2 things.
It's like where you're coming from.
Recent past, this year I had an accident
Okay.
and I lost my lock key 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted me to say?
Yeah, no, sure. And how
That's
does that
the
relate
recent
to
past, the bikes? I don't know if that's what you meant.
You
The
had an
bikes.
accident with a
So
bicycle?
both were with a bicycle? Okay.
Yeah.
What happened?
I got caught in a storm. The leaves had covered, there was a pothole, and I landed on my hip at 30 miles an hour.
Ugh,
And I damaged my arm.
that sucks.
And then the lock, the bike lock. 3 weeks ago, I can't go around with it now because I can't find my lock. This really expensive lock,
Oh no.
the actual key. I can't
Yeah.
find the key. Is that what you wanted me to say?
Yes, for
that's the
sure.
recent past, yes.
Okay, so that's where you're coming from. And what is, and what does it mean to you other than that? Like, what can you draw from that? For example, like,
It's stopped in my movement. There's something about stopping or I'm being stopped from moving. So,
Okay, okay. That's cool. I like it. I'm certainly losing the lock. I mean, it's interesting. So the bicycle, to me, and again, obviously your interpretation is the most important, but also symbolizes self-sufficiency, right? And the ability for us to move ourselves forward, right? Because you're not using any other engine. It's all about us. But that's really cool. I mean, what one might do at this stage, one might go into the bicycle page, for example, and see, what else does it say, and then what resonates. Let's see here. So yeah, self-sufficiency, invention, efficiency, haste.
Absolutely, haste.
Um,
True.
And there's a bit of trivia in here, a meditation reflection. That's interesting.
Do share.
Perhaps it's worth walking more than cycling or driving so that you can notice what's around you.
Yeah.
It says here. Alternatively, other aspects of your life that you feel you need to speed up as well. So on the other side. And there's a meditation. If you want to read this one, no, we'll leave the meditation alone. It's a rabbit hole, but yeah, no, that's very interesting. Well, let's keep going because obviously we can stick on this for a while. So let's look at where you're kind of energy-wise right now.
Where I'm now.
Yeah. So tell me about yourself.
Stop.
The one on the bottom or the top? Okay. Cool. You know what you want. Okay. Great. Cool. Bottom or top?
Top.
Okay. Here we go. So, what is the one matching symbol?
Not an animal.
Close.
What is it? That's a Capricorn. Capricorn.
You're Sagittarius, I believe.
Sagittarius. Okay.
Yes. Sagittarius.
Yeah. As a centaur.
That's right. Well, yes. It's called Chiron, I believe, in
Yes.
mythology. But what does that symbolize to you right now? Because it's kind of like where you are energy.
Sagittarius is that's a fire sign? Yes, it's a fire sign. Who do I know that's a Sagittarius?
Or what about like where you're at in life? This potentially could, keywords involved are accuracy, instinct, prophecy, independence, fire. Those are kind of
Well, we're
and
actually
fire obviously the
working on
element.
prophecies at the moment, so that's with Carl Jung's prophecies.
All right, please, yeah, sure.
So we're sort of looking at his red book and
Beautiful
looking at
book.
his imagery because he actually, in the discussion that we had, it's sort of evident that Carl Jung actually had visions about the First World War, but he didn't realise that's what he was seeing was going to happen. And we're actually talking about prophecies and dreams and symbols that we can program before we go to sleep, so that will have meaning for us about future prophecies or.
What type of exercise are you doing now? Then are you trying any of that on
Well,
yourself?
we've just been talking about it. We are actually starting to sort of think about programming symbols before we go to sleep, so that they mean things. So if we dream about them, we'll know that that means that, and that we can share it within the group. So the group might have a collective symbol that actually means something for us in the dream.
Cool. Okay. Very cool. Cool. I mean, yeah, Sagittarius is obviously quite
So prophecy stuff.
prophecy, yeah, for sure, and obviously being able to prophesize is aiming at hitting a target as well, right? Which is quite hard to do when you're moving like that. But also represents a fire, a lot of energy, a lot
Fire
of
and volcano in Palma.
La Palma,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're talking about how the planet's also moving through the galactic plane. Apart from having global warming issues, because of where we are in the solar system, how we're moving into the dust, we're moving away from the dust cloud and moving into something I can't remember what it's called now. But this will have an effect on the magnetic core of the Earth, which will mean more extreme weather systems and volcanic eruptions, etc., etc. So that ties in with the volcano as well.
Okay. That's more. That's fine. That's good.
Eruptions.
That's more macro. What does that mean personally to you? Personally, you have any significance?
Well, I'm half Spanish,
Ah.
so that's a kind of, I don't quite know.
Okay, yeah.
Half Spanish. prophecy and eruptions and
Cool.
volcanic eruptions.
Okay, well that's where you are energy-wise right now. Let's see where you're kind of headed. So tell me, and that's cool. La Palma's a beautiful island, by the way. I've been there once. It's amazing. Okay, let's go for it.
Stop.
Okay, cool. There we go. There's that Ace of Hearts. I did put a chess king. I really love chess, and of course you've got the Kabbalah True of Life, which is a very great symbol. So quite a range of things, and the Om, obviously, and the Lotus. Lots of cool things. Okay, let's see what comes out of all these symbols. Cool symbols.
Okay. Stop.
Okay, it is the Kabbalah True of Life.
Oh, well, that's
Okay.
interesting, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh. Well, that the circles represent something. I can't remember what they do. They represent the.
Which one is one of
planets
this?
or the different chakras or.
Similar to the chart is one of this field, and it is like you've got from the Keter at the top to Malkut at the beginning, like all the elements. It's they all represent kind of the world in different ways in our. But I will give you some keywords.
Yes, thank you.
Transcendence, divine knowledge, growth, spiritual wisdom, and concealment. We're trying to see that what is hidden as well. The 10 nodes in the Kabbalah Tree of Life have, I'm just reading here, 22 connecting lines corresponding to the number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Kabbalists believe the Tree of Life is a map of how the universe came into being and the underlying nature of reality. But the idea for Tree of Life with different spheres of reality dates back to 9th century Assyria, before Assyria itself. And there is a link between the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge in the Garden of Eden as well.
And the Babylonians, didn't they take it from the Babylonians originally?
I think, in many ways, of course. There's all these stories, that came in. And the Tree of Life may also symbolize the need for spiritual roots, growth, and wisdom. Trees magically pull mass out of the air. That's actually quite interesting, by the way. How do trees, where do trees get their matter from? Do you know? Because obviously, they get some water, they get some sunshine, but how do they grow? Where does that come from, the matter that becomes trees? Do you know? Anybody know?
It comes from the atmosphere, isn't it? Sometimes?
Yes, they pull carbon
Yeah.
from the carbon dioxide. So it's literally, they pull the carbon, throw back the oxygen, but they grow by taking carbon. It's quite a magical thing from the atmosphere. That's right.
It's invisible.
Invisible, yeah, exactly. Mass out of the air as they grow, thanks to the carbon they acquire for releasing back oxygen. And a reflection here is often spirituality is an area of our lives that we think we don't have time for. What is your spiritual compass? What would you like to learn and do to increase your spiritual intelligence? So what does that mean to you in terms of where you're going right now? Because it sounds like you're a bit on a spiritual path at the
Definitely on
moment.
a spiritual path right now, definitely, absolutely. In fact, something really strange happened to me the other day. I was in a restaurant and there was a customer sitting next to me, and he just turned around and he said, "Are you spiritual?" He didn't say, "Hi, what's your name and where are you from?" He just said, "Are you spiritual?" And I was about to put something in my mouth and I was a bit taken aback with what interesting spiritual things. And he is from America. He comes from the Sioux, I can't pronounce it, Macomb Sioux tribe in Carolina.
Okay,
And we're going to meet tomorrow.
amazing.
Yeah. So
Wow, that's cool. And that's quite cool serendipity as well. Yeah, sure.
So definitely about being on a spiritual path and learning.
Yes.
Definitely learn and grow.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's awesome. Well, okay, that seems very, very cool. So now this is easier to do on a table or on the floor, but now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the intuition card, which is what's cool. It's part of the magic of this system.
Okay.
So first, we kind of see the journey right from the bicycle to Sagittarius, and then to the moving towards the Tree of Life. And now, what's cool about hexagons, and this is why I like hexagons. I also really like the game. If anyone's played Settlers of Catan, I don't know. It also uses hexagons. So hexagons are fun because you can use them as building blocks. So you just combine all these hexagons. Wow, these magnets are working really well. So thank you guys for marketing and publicity for hooking this up. Absolutely awesome. So what's cool is once you take the all of the symbols, the cards for the past, the present, and the future, you get a circle with these 6 cards, and there's room for one more card. That's what you're going to get, your last card. And that's going to be, from that, hopefully we'll get an intuition symbol. We'll see.
So when you say intuition, something that I would just say spontaneously.
Well, you'll think about it, but also will give you something to reflect and take away. So it might be, you can still say what you think, but also it's also something for you to perhaps meditate on and kind of, think about, maybe use before you, into some of these dream, programs you want to try and run. So that might be interesting. Perhaps it's up to you how you want to play with it. But yeah. Okay. So the last card. This is about to get the classic spread. Is about to be completed.
Stop.
Okay. So bottom or top?
Top.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Here we are. Okay. Nice. The jumping TVs did make an appearance. So cool. So here we go. And Pan made an appearance as well. Wow, you've got two mythical beasts in a sense.
Yes, it's really strong. It's right.
Okay, so what we're going to do now, so this is a little bit more complex in a sense, just a tiny bit more. We look for the dominant symbol. So we actually have
so
to...
it's the figures holding
So-
hands.
So we'll see, yeah, possibly. So what we're going to do is, these 2 cards, for example, what is the matching symbol between these 2 cards? That's right. Very good. And here?
Five.
Again, yeah, you already have some sort of dominance.
It's a journey.
So it's already, yeah, absolutely. So let's see, but let's finish the circle. And this way, what is the matching symbol here?
Is that Sagittarius?
It is,
Okay.
exactly. And you're going to get Sagittarius here as well. So already you've got 2 strong forms of dominance. And what about here? What is the dominant symbol? It's blocked a little bit.
Oh, the figures.
Yeah, these jumping TVs. So that's cool. And here, what is the matching symbol? Ah, cool.
It's a flower.
That's
Lotus?
right, the lotus flower. A beautiful, obviously very important symbol too. Beauty out of ugliness because it comes out of the mud as well, right? Also sort of transcendence. So basically we've got the jumping TVs, we've got the lotus, but we've got 2 bicycles and 2 Sagittarius. Well,
Two.
so we'll trick you.
Oh,
So
sorry,
so we
2
don't
matches,
count.
yeah.
It is 3 in a sense, but we don't count the middle.
Yeah,
We
2.
only count
Yeah.
basically around. So yes, you get two of these, 2 links, and 2 bicycles. So those are the 2. So really, you need to look into the booklet. Sorry, I'll pause for a
Does
sec.
having 3
And-
DNAs make a difference or not?
No, because they still have to go through
To
the
the middle part.
Yeah, if it doesn't play through the middle, no effect. So yeah, it doesn't matter. This is DNA. These 2 were the Kabbalah tree of life, and here you had what happened here? The Sagittarius was spread out, but from yeah, it doesn't matter. It's all through the middle. So that gives you something to kind of take away and reflect upon. I'll just tell you briefly. You already know what those both mean, so you don't need that. But I would let you look in and kind of take that something to think more deeply. I don't know. Does it have any resonance to you at the moment in terms of those 2? We kind of spoke about them already.
I'm thinking about the bike being about some kind of journey.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Sagittarius just yet.
It's also about movement as well, by the way. It's horseback.
About movement.
In a way, he's also moving.
Yeah.
It's also movement. It's also a journey
Yeah, journey
as well.
Does anyone else have any ideas?
Sagittarius like a warrior,
Very much so. Yes.
like a battle maybe. A sense of purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm sitting next to you. I'm a Sag. And I'm half Spanish as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Really?
Okay, that's also been a synchronicity. That's cool. And you don't know each other.
No.
Cool, amazing. Yeah.
I'm wearing a scimitar.
That's cool, and colors as well, actually. That's very interesting. Wow. Okay, so synchronicities all around us. What does it mean? Let's discover. Let's better understand it. So that is how you do a reading. Yeah. So first, let's give Renata a round of applause for Cool. Let me see. What else did I want to share before we do a few more questions? Yes, you should. But yes, and you should make a note of because these got jumbled up. actually, because you had such a, so maybe also write down, I like to write down after the reading, you know, everything that came out, even the minor symbols. But yeah, go ahead and please do take a picture.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. It's really lovely.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. Yeah, okay, it's before questions, but go ahead. Yes, please.
So, like in a way,
Do the whole thing.
in its purest sense, the
Sue, was it?
Yeah.
Sue, cool.
the synchronicity is just putting the symbols out. In a way, on one level, you've kind of done everything just by creating the cards, having the symbols, and making them have only one fit. So, in a way, did the process of you then putting meaning into the symbols? Was that like a synchronous experience, or I mean, you know, because you could say in a way, as soon as you put meaning in it, you're making it a little bit less kind of like whatever you want it to be. Whereas in its purest sense, that you know, nothing has to mean anything.
Yeah.
So, what was the process of giving meaning? Obviously, there is, you know, the meaning of the tree of life.
Of course.
But then you take it a bit further for other stuff.
That's right.
I suppose you did it, so therefore you were comfortable with it. But did you feel it was like part of the same?
I think so. I mean, so that's a great question. I mean, obviously, certain things have stronger connotations than others, and whatnot. Yeah, for me, that was part of the learning process. Was trying to think what I could kind of channel, and also I looked into also dream symbols as well. Obviously, when I was thinking about this, and I tried to kind of put things together that made sense. But yes, absolutely. At the end of the day, you know, you don't have to use the book. I think there's a lot of interesting wisdom in here. But what's cool about it, you can just play with it, and everybody can interpret it as they want, and that's quite nice. Unlike a tarot deck, where who the heck knows what, like, you know, the five of wands means. You can immediately assign meaning and play with it, whereas that would be kind of impossible, I think, with a tarot deck to do. But some major arcana is easier, but the other part's certainly harder. So yeah, but I will say, you know, you've got here 57 symbols. Each one's got a little bit of, they've got their own keywords, they've got some symbolism, some meaning, then there's a reflection, and there's a meditation. And I will confess that the meditation was very much a sort of creative writing experiment, in a sense. So I kind of channeled what made sense to me, and you know, and that was, you know, something that came to me. So for example, I'll share like a random meditation. And also, by the way, speaking of synchronicities or serendipity, it's curious that the very first print run that we did, there's actually an error in the print run. Don't worry, it's okay, it happens, because it's beautiful. We did an amazing job with it. But what's funny is there's one, so you've got the symbols in the beginning, including 0, and at the end there's kind of like a quick guide, like a sort of cheat sheet as well. But on the symbol 0, we didn't print the symbol 0, but I think that's actually really beautiful, because the one mistake, so to speak, was actually, you know, 0, which is, it can be nothing in and of itself. So I think that's really cool. To me, that's a beautiful bit of synchronicity, I have to say. You know, maybe that'll make this edition more special, I think. But yeah, here's like a, I guess, I don't know, kind of a random creative writing meditation, which I think to some extent drew upon the different concepts in magic, maybe chaos magic, different things. But so here's a meditation. Well, you guys can just, it will only take a second or a minute. So maybe I'll say close your eyes for the hell of it. Everybody close your eyes. I'm just going to read this. Imagine standing in the middle of a circle drawn in chalk. Raise your hands to the sky, then caress your earlobes. Do that, caress your earlobes. Hips and knees. Sit down, you're already sitting down, you have to do that. Clap your hands 3 times. Cool. And let's see. Now imagine that the circle is suddenly surrounded by fire. Breathe in, exhale, and imagine that the fire turns to ice. You feel empowered, knowing you can conjure something out of nothing with the power of your imagination. Okay, so that's it. That's done. That's the meditation. Very simple, short and sweet. But yeah, and this was for the number 0. Obviously, the chalk, you're doing the circle. That is 0, and that is the conjuring. And 0 is, you know, the endless loop. It's also the creation. It's where everything starts. But yeah, every symbol has some sort of meditation that will give you something to take away with you. So that's quite fun. Favorite symbols. Oh, another interesting symbol, going back to what you were asking. I quite like, it didn't come up here, but there's also a spider's web with a spider, which to some people spiders are kind of scary, and I'm not necessarily a huge fan of spiders, but spiders also can symbolize good luck, and in Hebrew actually the word spider is akavish, and literally it means, it's the combination, it's a portmanteau, a combination of two words, which means to delay bad luck. Akev and bish. So that's quite nice. So yeah, so that's the spider's web, which obviously is very related to the dream catcher as well. So everything is kind of interlinked. Anyway, cool. Any other? Okay, so now I'll open up to questions. Please, yes.
So you mentioned earlier on about the tessellation of the cards, and they're really beautifully designed, and the colours on the back are quite interesting. Was there any significance in the colours? And also, could you tell us a bit about how you chose the visual symbols?
Thank you. Great question. So we'll start from the back. It was interesting. So we weren't sure what to put on the back, and Glenn Wilkins, he's a great designer who worked on this and did the packaging and everything. Well, I chose the symbols, and we'll get back to that in a sec. But he designed this, and the idea was to have some sort of yin yang. So this is kind of like the yin. It's a sort of yin yang in a sense, using three colors rather than just two. But you've got the black and the white, and then a sort of neutral, more neutral blue in there. But it's it is quite beautiful how you can match these up and kind of build with them, and they're beautiful building blocks.
Basically pie in illustration, isn't it? It's
In a sense, yeah. Absolutely, because yes, it's still playing with the concept of a circle and infinity. Yes, and they'll go on forever. But yeah, you can just keep. I always say, don't have magnets, right? Not using magnets. This is not perfect. You can decide how to put it together. You can have them match or try and do different things. But they're really fun to play with and really cool. The symbols themselves, it's interesting because there's a range of aesthetics, here. And I have had comments that maybe they should have been more uniform in their design. But I like the fact that there's a lot of diversity, often, drawing, upon like whichever source it's coming from. And I chose most of them off of Shutterstock, I have to admit. So it wasn't that just got licensed them from Shutterstock. But there's a little bit of it wasn't too hard in that sense. But still, choosing the symbols took forever and playing with them. I wanted them to be colorful. We also have their sizes range. I wanted the process of discovery to take a little bit of work as well. Yes, sure.
Is there a reason for the number 57?
It's a great question. So when you use 8 symbols, like you've got here, then the most you can use are 57 symbols. That's the maximum. Double the game, which I referred to, actually uses 55. Why, I don't know. That's a nice number, 55. I like 57. That is the maximum. I wanted to take it to its full potential. If I were to use 9 symbols, I could have had actually more. But I didn't want to jump to too many. 57 felt right. Obviously the famous Heinz 57 also comes to mind to some extent, right? They had 57 flavors, and that sounded good, and I don't know, it sounded good to me as well. But obviously, if I had more, I guess I might have thrown in the entire zodiac. But that, if you only have 57, then 12 already takes too much out of that. So, I took bits of the zodiac, so that is that. But potentially one can use the algorithm to it actually created the algorithm that lets you have always just one match for any 2 cards, and it's quite cool. You can extrapolate it to any number. 8 is quite nice because if you had 9 symbols, it becomes much harder to find the matching one, whereas 6 is really easy. So there's a little bit of magic.
There's a good balance,
Yeah, exactly. Great question. Any other? Yes.
I was thinking as well. You're obviously familiar with dominoes.
Sure.
And how you
Yes,
put the numbers
it's very
together.
similar in a way.
Maybe it could add to the divination if you put the matching after you've done this, what the shape the snake would take, whether it turns back on itself or whether it's a uniform line that it forms. I thought that was interesting as I was looking and trying to sort of extrapolate it from where I'm sitting, of course. But it's nice when something just keeps opening up.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
enough.
Well, absolutely, and as I said, and also in the booklet, you can easily kind of create your own structure. And I like the idea of trying to create like a snake shape or different shapes. It plays very, very well, very easily to do that. And whether you wanted, one could potentially put, just have all the cards flipped over and flip them at the end as well. I like doing it the way we did it, but both processes.
Can you ask it a question?
Yes, sure.
No, can you ask him?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it could even just be one question and just take 2 cards and see what comes. Yeah, absolutely. And you can bring in lots of different patterns. Thanks for listening, and thanks again to Renata. And and if you like it, hopefully you'll get a copy. I'm happy to it's probably the easiest way to sign it. If anybody wants, I'm happy to sign is if you buy a copy, and I can sign on this page and dedicate it to you. And I'll be hanging out. And thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.